This video is for you, and I need you to listen carefully right to the end if you can. I understand that as a human being you might have a very short attention span, but this is going to be the most important video you've ever heard in your life, and I know that so many videos will say that about various subject matter, but this is actually about your life, about the world, why you're here, what the hell's going on. My name is David. I was seemingly born, I have to say seemingly because that's not true, but I was born into this world in 1965. At the time of recording this, I'm 59 years old. In my body, the avatar, the vessel. You and I are the same, identical. We're not different at all. We are one. We are the one life, one being, one entity. The world, however, is like a kaleidoscope, splitting everything up into different patterns and shapes and forms, and in the grand scheme of, let's say, universal mind creating or God mind creating, we find ourselves in a situation where we seem to be separate from each other and have our own bodies and our own individual interests and things like that, none of which is true. I'm making this video because when you look in the mirror and you see your body, you see your face and your familiar shape and characteristics, you automatically think that it's you. You cannot not, because the ego always speaks first, and that ego is the voice in your head that is always attempting to validate the form, the body, as the identity of the individual, rather than allowing for the realization of truth regarding the individual, that the individual itself doesn't actually exist. It's a projection of the mind, a dream figure within its own seeming experience of reality. And it appears, and I'll say you as if you were the individual entity, but you also as in Christ mind or Buddha mind or higher mind, dreaming this whole thing up. And that's where I really want to try and keep this at, is that you are not the body, you are mind. And if I use a bit of a storyline, you are, let's say, asleep in eternity as God mind creating, imagining this whole thing. Now, the truth of the whole thing is that it's actually already over. And I know this is not going to be easy to follow, but the things you think you see now aren't actually there anymore. But the light that is traveling at, let's say, light speed, got a helicopter or something coming over, the light that is traveling to the retina of your eyes, that's telling you that things are still there, is traveling slower than the speed of thought. A little ultralight. Oh, that little gyrocopter. If you can see it there. Tiny little thing. Even like the light that travels from that gyrocopter to the retina of my eye, it's traveling at a certain speed, and by the time I perceive the gyrocopter in one place, even infinitesimally small fraction of time that passes by, it's actually already somewhere else by the time I recognize it in the sky. It's the same thing with the sun. The sun light takes 8 minutes to travel from the sun. So by the time that the light, when you look at the sun, by the time you're seeing the sun, you're actually seeing something that was in the sky in that position 8 minutes ago. And so in conjunction with the entirety of the universe being already over, you are still seeing something that has tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or maybe billions of light years left in it as a finality occurring that was activated in the resurrection. And I don't really want to get into the resurrection right now, but it was 2,000 years ago, roughly, from when I'm making this video, as time goes, but actually it was right now, and is right now, since everything is now, all time happening all at once. And that's hard to wrap your head around. You have to imagine looking along a timeline and seeing the past and the future, and then as if you could turn that timeline on its end and look down it like a tube, and you would see everything happening all at the one time. That's about the only way I can explain it to you. But the situation you find yourself in is a kind of a trap or a prison for the mind. You seem to be in a world with other people and situations and events that keeps you very preoccupied from questioning reality. Keeps you preoccupied from doing anything particularly to try and help yourself understand the nature of life and your situation here. But in one incarnation or another, you're going to do that. You're going to be suddenly fed up with not knowing what it is that feels wrong about the world, and you're going to start to listen to that internal voice, that internal calling, that niggly little thing that tells you something's not right. If you follow it faithfully and with faith, living your life in faith, it will lead you to a state of mind wherein you will be somewhat revelation ready to take on board the truth of the matter, that you actually don't exist, that there is no world. And hopefully you'll be able to have an experience of the illumination of your mind that will reveal to you and reenact or reactivate the memory in you of what the truth is as being eternal and all-encompassing. You're a being of light. You are God mind. It can be somewhat shocking to come to the conclusion and understanding that you don't really have a choice about your life in the world. And of course everybody initially says, well, I'm just here to be happy and I'll figure it out on the other side. But you won't, because there is no other side. There is only now. There is only this moment. And the other side is a revolving door. You'll simply find yourself listening to this video again. Which is why I'm making it, in the hope that when you're listening to it next time, you will apply yourself to meditation, to healing. If the Course in Miracles is still around, to reading A Course in Miracles and doing those workbook lessons. And doing whatever you can online as part and parcel of purifying your own mind of the false belief in this world as your reality, and so assist in collapsing time for yourself and time for everyone as you begin to minimize and erase your own emotional footprint in the world, as you begin to surrender the false self, your identity of who you think you are, and begin to live from the truth of what you actually are as God mind creating, which is going to take a while to wrap your head around. It sounds easy and you can nod your head and it's like, oh yeah, I'm actually God because God is everything, therefore that includes me, so I'm God too. But saying it and living it is two different things. You've probably got plenty of education from the world by the time you're watching this video that's told you all the meanings that everything in the world has and all the names for everything and all of that kind of stuff, and all of that has to be undone, which again is what the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles are designed to do. The first half of the workbook is designed to undo the way you think and see things now, and the second half is designed to reinstate true vision, or singular vision, Christ vision, Buddha vision, whatever you want to, Krishna consciousness, whatever you want to call that. It's going to be a long journey. It's going to be a hard journey. You're going to have a lot of emotional walls, a lot of emotional blocks to have to deal with through the action of forgiveness and letting go and realizing there is only one self, and that everything that seems to be being presented is simply you presenting something to yourself for your unlearning and healing. I know you will do this because you did, because the world is already over, but we seem to find ourselves back in time before that occurred, helping to collapse the time that took to end the time of suffering for everybody bit by bit. And as you become more and more willing to erase your own emotional footprint and your own reactive nature from the world, so you step back from the continuing act of perpetuating the cycles of drama and suffering in your own life and the lives of others, and become more peaceful and more quiet, more withdrawn in a certain sense, in a social sense. And you become more focused and more understanding of the nature of your oneness on earth as it is in heaven, as above so below. You begin to feel connected with all things rather than separated from all things, because you start to see everything as just you, just your own ideas about whatever it is you think you're looking at. It's a very different way of seeing. You go from duality, from the mine and yours mindset, the better and worse mindset, to I am. I am. And every time you find yourself in that mine and yours mindset, or me and you, or us, or we, or them, or any of those sorts of things that seem to validate the idea of separate beings or separate entities, you have to stop and breathe and release that projection, release that denial of the singular nature of life. Because not releasing it brings suffering. In this particular life, in this incarnation, which is the same incarnation, I've healed myself of cancer using the principles of A Course in Miracles, without chemotherapy, without drugs of any kind or modern medicine, just through faith. I have had an experience of the revelation of the Father and the Son being one, or the unity of all things. I and he and me, the singular truth, the singular eternal truth. And that had nothing to do with being in the world. It was a no-world experience, a no-body experience, where everything disappeared and I found myself one in God, as God, with God, in God. I really can't describe it or talk about it. Words don't help me do that. Truth, spiritual truth. Set your goal as inner peace, and anything that disturbs it is the subject matter for your own personal path of forgiveness. Get yourself a copy of A Course in Miracles. Hang out with other people who are reading it and studying it, and no matter what it takes, just keep going. Even when you feel like putting yourself in the mental asylum, even when you feel like giving up and throwing the book away and all of that sort of stuff, just keep going. You are entitled to miracles, and prayer is the medium of miracles. Remember that. I love you.